As you can see, the crystal candies are a hit in my house. Hello everyone, it's your fairy godmother Mint, and welcome back to the Mint Coven. Welcome Yule. Yule is here because I have crystal candies. I know I've been gone for a bit, but it is a beautiful, wonderful Fae Wednesday, and I wanted to start featuring a small business in every video. So for the first day of December, we are featuring Misaki Tokyo. If you don't know, Misaki Tokyo sells these beautiful and delicious crystal jelly candies. They're crunchy and crispy on the outside and sweet and gooey on the inside. They're gluten-free, they're vegan, and they're absolutely delicious and gorgeous. Look at this. Look at these. So gorgeous. They all have a bite taken out of them because my son is here taking a bite of them. They're really, really yummy, and they're a super unique and beautiful gift to give, especially around the holiday season. If you have someone in your life who loves crystals, who loves candy, who loves beautiful things, who loves unique gifts, and who loves tasty gifts like me, I'm all about giving me something I can eat for a present. It's like my favorite thing. Misaki Tokyo has you covered. I do have a code as well that you can use right here for a little discount, and if you have them, if you get them, tag me, let me know how you love them. They're my favorite things. Okay, so I wanted to make this video for quite a while. It's something that I think about all of the time. You know how when you're a kid and you'll look at people and say, wow, that person looks like a mouse, or that person has like features that kind of like a kangaroo. Or something, you know how people have features that remind you of an animal sometimes. Well, for me, I see people's faces and I think that person looks just like a pixie, or that person looks just like the type of Undine, or some kind of like crazy, interesting underground eternal animal or something. So I always look at people and think, wow, this person would be so wonderful in starring in a fairy role or starring in some sort of fantasy film, because they definitely have the features of an otherworldly creature. They have features of a fairy, and there have been so many legends and so many stories about fairies falling in love with humans, or just becoming involved with humans, sometimes even taking advantage of humans, or taking the place of a human's lover in order to be with that human. All sorts of tales of human and fairies coming together and creating children, whether it's an incubus or a succubus, or someone who was whisked away to the fairy realm to be wined and dined until they were sucked dry of their soul from a fairy. There are definitely people who have fairy blood in them. I think it happens very often with artists and with people who are very creative and who create something very beautiful that a member of the Fae realm will fall in love with. They'll fall in love with their art, they'll fall in love with their talent, and they'll want them to produce more, and they'll want to be close to them, they'll want to inspire them to do more. And these sorts of inspirations often lead to love affairs. So without further ado, here are 10 celebrities that most definitely have fairy blood. In no particular order. Believe me, I have way more than 10 that I could just spill out over and over again, but then this video will be way too long. So I have my list here. I have also my iPad so I can just like describe them, and I'll put a picture up here as well so you can see what I'm talking about. But the first person I'm going to talk about right now is Cara Delevingne. Are you like, are we looking at this person? Are we looking at the same human? Cara Delevingne, the first time I saw her, I was like, oh gosh, she just is a fairy. She is a fairy. She has such an interesting and very distinct face. Her features are very soft and beautiful, but they also have this hardness, this kind of like a feral type of wild look to them. And I think that that beautiful combination of wildness and beauty is what embodies that fae look. That very otherworldly, wild and beautiful look is just this really dope combination of like something that is gorgeous and terrifying at the same time. And I think that she really has that face, and something in her eyes is just very like huntery, you know what I mean? She's like a hunter, I can see it. And I think that that's just a very big indication that somewhere along the line, someone in her family is getting busy with some fairies. Halle Berry. Halle Berry definitely has a very particular type of softness to her that reminds me very much of nymphs and dryads, of very soft and sort of shy kinds of fairies. And I know what you're thinking as well, like fairies, why would they, if someone had fairy blood, wouldn't they have the instinct to stay out of the limelight? Wouldn't they be like, stay away from me, I don't want to be with humans, I don't want to have anything to do with humans? And that most definitely is true for a lot of people. I do feel like there are lots of artists, there are lots of writers and lots of poets who do have that instinct to create, but to also completely hide themselves and stay out of the limelight. However, we do know that a lot of fairy creatures feed off of energy, and sometimes the energy they feed off of is energy that we produce. And who produces a great amount of energy? What kind of a person is going to give you a ridiculous amount of energy, more than a fan, more than someone who is somewhere to see you, who's very excited to see you, especially like musicians. There are so many musicians that I believe have fairy blood who feed off of the crowd and who like draw in energy from the crowd, screaming and like losing their crap and like ripping their shirts off and stuff for them. That is just feeding them constantly, and I can imagine just wanting to soak that in and suck that in as a fairy creature. So 100%, there are fae that want to hide, but there are fae that want to drink our energy as well. So yeah, I think Halle Berry has very nymphy, very like soft, shy sort of fairy energy for sure. Grace Jones. Grace Jones was number one, like my first crush. I thought Grace Jones was the coolest person in the entire world. But Grace Jones also just has this incredibly strong, like warrior elf energy. Like, oh my gosh, such a strong warrior elf energy. Something that is just so commanding and so confident and so sure of everything that just kind of like, takes over any room. Like her energy just takes over any room. And I always thought, I was like, okay, Grace Jones, if I ever saw a fairy in person, it would be Grace Jones. Like it would totally be Grace Jones, because of just how strong of a tie she seems to have to that realm. Just like, oh my gosh, I can just see her like with some sort of a crazy dagger thing, just like running through the fields. Maybe even like, oh my gosh, I can totally imagine her as a centaur. Such a strong and confident demeanor that comes from being, it just comes from having blood of a creature that is just hundreds of thousands of years old. David Bowie, of course. There's like no denying it. David Bowie just is a fairy king. Like he just is, you know? And I feel like there are so many people who have that kind of energy and who have that sort of that presence already, and I love when they play roles that reflect that. Like David Bowie as the Goblin King was just absolutely perfect, like so suiting. It's just who he is already. He just exudes it, you know, and there's so much about his features, like I say, that just give you that sort of elfin look, that's narrow face, narrow features, bold eyes, very strong and interesting sort of otherworldly presence behind the eyes. Like that's what really gives me that, like, okay, you are extra, you know what I mean? Like you just have something extra that's in there. And David Bowie, man, just the artistry and the beauty and just the incredible amount of energy transferring that he did was just like, just so obvious to me. Just so very touched, so like fae touched, as my son screams. Zendaya has, again, this very sort of earthy, rooted kind of energy. She just very much gives me like tree spirit. She gives me tree spirit all day. She gives me animal spirit as well. She gives me some sort of just like natural kind of morphing spirit that just goes through time and space, sort of caring for and looking after creatures and animals and plants and things like that nature. Like she really gives me a nature protector. She gives me some sort of like guardian of the woods kind of energy. Very beautiful, very like rooty. Like some people, I look at them and I feel like I can almost see roots coming out of their fingers and hands and their feet. You know what I mean? It looks like they could just kind of plant themselves down and grow into a tree or something like that. And man, she really looks like that to me. She just has that base. She just has like a very little, like scrunchy like Brian Froud sort of like trickstery fairy face. You know what I mean? I love that trickstery fairy face. Taylor Lautner also has that trickstery fairy face, that little like, you know, I know secrets and mysteries and I'm not going to tell you, but I might just like mess with you and steal something of yours or something. Taylor Lautner has such like below the ground, like under earth fairy vibes to me, like very sort of like gnomey, sort of like a mining fairy kind of energy, where he's very strong and kind of like stout and is really great with like finding things that are lost or finding things that are below ground. Definitely like an Underhill sort of like below the ground fairy energy. Really nice. Timothée Chalamet as well gives me that as well. He gives me very beautiful, very regal, sort of trickstery fairy energy. Just very ambiguous, sort of self-serving kind of fairy energy. Not that he's like a jerk. Very much, just very much that I'm gonna mess with you kind of face, like that I'm gonna like zip your pants and like pants you in public kind of fairy energy. You know what I mean? Penelope Cruz as well. Penelope Cruz gives me really lovely water fae energy. She gives me that sort of I'm walking alongside a lake and I'm just minding my business, and all of a sudden Penelope Cruz's head comes out of the water and you just see her eyeballs, and then she might suck you in and kill you. You know, just that gorgeous combination again of beauty and like murder. Really very like enticing, sort of drawing you in, even like succubus energy, like where you're so drawn in, you want to get closer, you want to move closer, and you want to listen to what she has to say, you want to hear her read you a story, and then she just sucks your blood and you're dead. You know, she really gives me so much of that energy. Very beautiful, very deadly type of energy. Juno Temple too. Juno Temple gives me really huge, really wild, angry pixie energy, the kind of like people hatey pixie energy that I love. It's so like feral, so like if that were a word, that's a way to describe someone, is how I describe Juno Temple. Gorgeous, absolutely stunning, but like you can imagine her turning her head and then her teeth are just all sharp and then she just bites you and just like sucks out all your guts. Totally Juno Temple with that. And my number one, probably one of my first people that I ever saw and was like struck by that energy, Liv Tyler. Liv Tyler. And when Liv Tyler was in Lord of the Rings, I was floored because I was like, I felt like they had been reading my mind. When I first saw her, I was probably like a young, I don't know how old I was. I was young. I don't know. I think I first saw her in the Crazy video with Alicia Silverstone. And I was like, uh-oh. Like, is she allowed to just be on TV? Like, she was a fairy to me. I was enthralled. I couldn't believe it. Not only was she just beautiful, but she had this really interesting sort of sadness to her that reminded me of a trapped being, sort of like a Selkie, you know, where she emerged from the water and took off her beautiful seal cloak just to like relax in the sun, and someone stole it, and then she had to become a person and live on land. It's very sad. It's like sad, and obviously like not what happened, but still it just, that's how she feels to me. When I saw her, I felt like she needed to be freed, and I was like a kid. It's so weird, but she definitely gives me that sort of Selkie energy where she has all of the melancholy emotion of the sea. I thought she was just so striking the first time I saw her. I was like, wow, what the heck? Why is there just a fairy on TV? What's going on? And I could go on, like I said, Zoe Saldana also has very beautiful, very strong fairy energy for me. The cheekbones just like take me there. I can imagine what all of these people, when I talk about them, I can imagine what they all look like in more of a fairy form. Like in a human guise, you know, they're just gorgeous and scary looking to me. But if I look hard enough at their faces, I can see what they would sort of look like with more fairy features, like sharper cheekbones, even like, you know, like twigs or branches coming from their faces, and like pointy ears, or even like webbed ears, or you know, elongated jaws, and just like sharp fangs, like very different sort of features that I can imagine their faces with. Maybe one day it would be really fun to sort of like Photoshop or kind of like morph their faces into the way I would see them as fairies. That'd be really fun, actually. Maybe I'll do that in another video. Gosh, and Lisa Bonet too. Lisa Bonet is just like super awesome, like swamp fairy, just really crazy. Again, that kind of beautiful and dangerous energy where you would want to get closer and you'd want to learn more about her, only to be sucked into the depths of the water. Billie Eilish, for sure. Billie Eilish gives me the same sort of energy that Liv Tyler does, like beautiful, sad, trapped sort of siren. Like she wants you to come closer to the edge of your boat so that she can sing you a lovely song and then drown you because you're actually crazy, and she wants to just like suck your soul out, but in the most beautiful way possible. Anyway, I can go on forever and ever and ever. This video will be so long. But if you'd like a part 2, let me know in the comment section. Also, yeah, check the link in the description if you'd like to try some of these delicious crystal candies that my son has almost eaten all of. They are, like I said, a beautiful and delicious and gorgeous, unique gift that anyone would enjoy having. They're just so nice and they're so special, especially to bring her out like while you're having holiday dinner and you know you're eating and it's delicious and you're like, ooh, what's for dessert? Wow, how about some literal magic fairy food? You know what I'm saying? Katra says hello. She says that she loves you. She says drink water, make sure you're taking your medicine and your vitamins, and have a beautiful, magical day. Mwah!